Bills Mafia, buckle up, because we've got two major storylines today, and both of them could shape exactly where this Buffalo Bills team is headed as we barrel toward Week 1. One of these stories is going to make you a little nervous. The other one is going to make you dream a little bigger. And by the end of this video, you're going to walk away with a much clearer picture of where this roster actually stands heading into the most important season of the Josh Allen era. Let's start with the uncomfortable truth. Underneath all the excitement of training camp, underneath the highlight reels and the hype videos, there are still real, unresolved questions hanging over this roster. And almost every single one of them lives on the defensive side of the football. Let's start with linebacker, because honestly, this might be the single most uncertain position group on the entire team heading into camp. Terrell Bernard is coming off what most people would agree was the toughest season of his career. Injuries limited him to just 12 games. And while he still finished with 65 tackles, the raw numbers don't tell the full story. When he was actually on the field, there were far too many plays where he simply wasn't in the right position. Too many missed opportunities against the run. His coverage, which Bills fans had come to rely on, just wasn't as sharp as we're used to seeing. And here's what makes this especially concerning. Buffalo showed serious faith in Bernard by handing him a 4-year, $50 million extension back in March of last year. At the time, that deal signaled the organization believed he was going to be one of the long-term cornerstones of this defense. Now, instead of talking about Bernard taking the next step forward, people are quietly wondering if he's trending in the wrong direction entirely. And it doesn't stop there. Dorian Williams is also dealing with his own health questions heading into camp. 2 seasons ago, he actually led the entire team with 117 tackles, proving he absolutely has the ability to be productive at a high volume. But even in that big season, he never quite became the kind of game-wrecking linebacker who forces opposing coordinators to completely change their game plan. If Williams is limited or unavailable for any stretch of time, that opens the door for 4th-round rookie Caleb Elam, to be thrown into a massive role far earlier than anybody in the building originally wanted. Now, to be fair, there's real reason for optimism about this young linebacker long-term. Buffalo selected him with the 126th overall pick in this year's draft, and his athleticism, his instincts, his overall upside make him a player who could absolutely become a foundational piece of this defense someday. But asking a rookie to immediately become one of the most important players on a legitimate Super Bowl contender is an entirely different animal. Development takes time, especially at linebacker in a scheme as demanding as Sean McDermott's defense. Thrust him into the fire too early, and you risk putting enormous, unfair pressure on a player who should be allowed to grow at a natural pace. And behind those 3 names, it gets thin fast. Joe Andreasen has earned respect over his first 2 seasons by making the most of every opportunity given to him, but expecting him to suddenly transform into a full-time difference maker if injuries start piling up might be asking too much. The rest of the depth chart includes names like Keanu Jenkins, Jimmy Sherlow, Demetrius Flannigan-Fowles, and Thorold Simon. And get this, that entire group combined has just 13 total NFL starts between them. 13 combined. Think about that for a second. If either Bernard or Williams goes down for an extended stretch, Buffalo could find itself just 1 injury away from a genuinely serious problem at one of the most important positions on the entire defense. The second concern sits at cornerback, and let's start with the good news here because there is some. Christian Benford has developed into one of the most dependable young cornerbacks in the entire NFL. Remember, this is a guy who entered the league as a 6th-round pick, and his growth since then has been nothing short of remarkable. There's zero question he has fully earned the trust of this coaching staff. But once you move past Benford, the certainty starts to evaporate fast. Former first-round pick Maxwell Hairston had a genuinely difficult rookie season, one that was heavily disrupted by injuries. There's still plenty of raw talent there, and it's way too early to slap the bust label on him. But this season feels enormous for his development. Buffalo needs him to prove once and for all that he belongs as a legitimate starting outside corner in this league. Then there's the battle for the other outside corner spot, where Dane Jackson-Igbinosun is currently in the mix. The talent is obvious, nobody's denying that. But consistency remains a real question mark after a college career that included a concerning number of penalties. The coaching staff is going to be watching closely to see whether he can clean up those mistakes now that he's at the professional level. Further down the depth chart, 7th-round rookie Tavares Pryor Jr. may find himself getting real opportunities simply because the competition around him isn't especially established. Behind him, you've got Taron Johnson, Jordan Dunbar, and Cam Lewis-Harris. Hard-working guys, no doubt, but this isn't exactly a room overflowing with proven championship-level NFL production. If Buffalo wants to hang with the elite passing attacks that live in the AFS, leaning entirely on a group of young, unproven corners carries real, tangible risk. The third concern brings us to the interior defensive line, and this one might sting the most because the numbers from last season were flat-out ugly. Buffalo struggled badly defending the run in 2025, allowing opponents to average 5.1 yards per carry, the third highest figure in the entire NFL. That's not a small problem. That's a foundational, structural issue. And despite that glaring weakness, the front office didn't make any major outside additions to the defensive tackle room this offseason. Instead, they're betting heavily on internal growth. Second-year defensive tackle is expected to take a real leap after flashing some promise during his rookie campaign. A 5th-round rookie also joins the rotation, while the team continues to lean on Ed Oliver staying healthy after injuries limited him for chunks of last season. Round out the room with names like T.J. Sanders, Dwayne Carter, Poona Ford, Phidarian Mathis, Zion Logue, and Tommy Togiai, and you've got a group full of intriguing pieces but also plenty of unanswered questions. If Buffalo genuinely wants to transform into a more physical, more disciplined run defense, somebody in this room has to step up and emerge in a massive way, and soon. So what's the fix? Because here's the thing. There are already real conversations happening about how Buffalo could patch up each of these holes before the regular season even starts. Option 1. Sign a proven veteran linebacker. Instead of forcing a rookie to carry a heavy workload from day one, adding an experienced body would give defensive coordinator Bobby Babich far more flexibility, while letting that rookie develop at a much healthier, more sustainable pace. It would also serve as crucial insurance if Bernard or Williams misses any additional time. Option 2. Trade for an experienced outside cornerback. Bringing in another proven veteran starter would instantly stabilize that secondary, take pressure off Maxwell Hairston, and let him keep developing without getting thrown into brutal one-on-one matchups every single week. It would also create real, healthy competition throughout the entire defensive backroom. Option 3. Reinforce the interior defensive line with another established veteran tackle. Someone capable of consistently eating up double teams could dramatically improve Buffalo's run defense while creating more favorable one-on-one opportunities for Ed Oliver and the rest of the pass rush. It would also lift some of the developmental pressure off younger players like T.J. Sanders. And look, when you step back and survey the landscape of the AFC, it becomes really clear why these conversations matter so much right now. Kansas City is still the team everybody is chasing. Baltimore keeps getting stronger. Cincinnati is healthy again and dangerous. Houston is emerging as a legitimate new school contender. Buffalo still has Josh Allen, and that remains the single biggest reason every Bills fan on planet Earth believes this team can compete for a championship. But championship windows do not stay open forever. If General Manager Brandon Beane truly believes this roster is capable of winning it all, being aggressive before Week 1 could be the exact difference between another gut-wrenching deep playoff run that falls just short and finally finally bringing that Lombardi trophy back to Buffalo. Now, let's shift gears into our second story, and I need to be upfront with you before we dive in. This next part is a fictional, speculative scenario, not a confirmed report. But it's a fun one to think through, and I think Bills Mafia is going to have a lot to say about it. In this hypothetical scenario, the Buffalo Bills are imagined making one final push to convince veteran wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins not to retire just yet. To be clear again, Hopkins has not actually announced his retirement in real life, but growing speculation about him potentially transitioning into coaching has created a sense of urgency in this imagined front office storyline. The concept is simple. In this fictional world, the Bills believe they still have a real shot at convincing Hopkins to play one final NFL season, and they want that season to happen in Buffalo. In this scenario, the organization reportedly views Hopkins as far more than just another depth receiver. While Buffalo has invested heavily in developing its younger pass catchers, the belief here is that the receiver room is still missing an experienced veteran leader who has actually been through the biggest moments the NFL has to offer. Hopkins would theoretically bring years of elite experience, phenomenal route-running ability, sharp football intelligence, veteran leadership in the locker room, and that rare knack for making difficult, contested catches look routine, even if he's not producing the same gaudy numbers he once did earlier in his career. The imagined pitch here is that his mere presence could speed up the development of Buffalo's younger receivers while giving Josh Allen one more trusted, battle-tested target in critical, high-leverage moments. The imagined message from Buffalo would be simple and direct: come back for one final ride, play alongside Josh Allen, and take one last real shot at a championship before starting the next chapter of your football life. In this scenario, the Bills reportedly believe Allen is sitting right in the heart of his prime, and surrounding him with one more genuinely experienced weapon could be one of the final missing pieces needed for a true championship run. Timing, in this hypothetical, would be everything. The imagined front office would want to get something done before, or at the very latest during, the early stages of training camp, so Hopkins could actually build real chemistry with Allen before preseason games even kick off. And there's a reason for that urgency once camp rolls forward without Hopkins attached to any NFL roster. Convincing him to return would become significantly harder if he fully commits himself to coaching or retirement instead. So in this fictional storyline, the next few weeks represent Buffalo's final realistic window to make their pitch. And look, as Bills fans, it's a genuinely fun thought experiment, regardless of whether it ever becomes real. A veteran presence like DeAndre Hopkins wouldn't just add raw talent to the roster, he'd bring leadership, experience, calm under pressure, and one more trusted voice inside a young offensive room still trying to reach its absolute ceiling. Whether we're talking about very real, very pressing concerns on defense before Week 1, or just having some fun imagining what a player like Hopkins could bring to this offense, both storylines point toward the exact same larger truth. The Bills believe they're close, genuinely close. But in the AFC, being close has never, ever been enough. If this team truly wants to get over the hump and finally deliver Josh Allen his first Super Bowl, then every single decision between now and Week 1 matters. Every roster move matters. Every improvement, big or small, matters. That's exactly why these next several weeks could end up shaping the entire trajectory of the 2026 season. So here's what we want to know from you. Which of these three position groups worries you the most heading into the year? Linebacker, cornerback, or the interior defensive line? Would you rather see Buffalo sign a proven veteran linebacker, trade for an established cornerback, or add reinforcements up front on the defensive line? And just for fun, would you want to see DeAndre Hopkins suit up in Buffalo for one final season if a scenario like this ever actually became real? Drop your thoughts down in the comments below because we know Bills Mafia is going to have a lot to say about both of these stories. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure you like this video, drop a comment with your predictions, and subscribe to Buffalo Focus so you never miss a single update as we roll toward kickoff. Go Bills, and we'll see you in the next one.